Today we're talking about the movie Soul. And I made this video a while ago, but again, my channel was way small. So maybe this video might actually take some traction this time. But what is the great beyond really? Most people would say, oh, it's just a second death. But what if the great beyond is something else? So the great beyond is basically just known as basically a natural place for deceased souls who keep them made even the soul's life. They jump into a giant hole that is sold basically from the mortal life into the afterlife. Again, there isn't really much known about it besides it being, maybe of course, being where the souls go to after they die. But what if there's something more to this as well? What if there's something more to the soul world? And maybe the great beyond is based off something that has already been studied a lot, the near-death experience. And the great beyond is basically the interpretation of the near-death experience as well. So in the movie Soul, basically, Joel, he doesn't want to die, and he, messes up the count, and he basically goes to the great before. It's also very interesting that new souls can be created with the personalities before they're born as well. And we're going over both the great beyond and the great before as well. And then we're going over various things. Do souls in the great beyond reincarnate into new souls as well? And what is the afterlife like for souls in the great beyond? And do they stay there until they and of course until they inevitably choose to have a new life, which means they're a new soul, and they have to start all over again. So much about the afterlife is basically, here. So basically, they pass into the giant ball of light, which in many NDEs are very similar to it. So the near-death experience by the University of Virginia is basically a life-threatening, transformative experience which may kinesia, seasonal break activity, general anesthesia, and sciatic corrects as well. So basically, NDEs, you're very comfortable and free of pain, leaving the body, which is in soul, a mind functioning and creating more and rapidly than ever before, while Joel's able to move and still has consciousness. Being in a tunnel of darkness, well, they're really being turned up to the light. A brilliant light sometimes at the end of the tunnel, a sense of overwhelming peace, well, everybody except for Joe Gardner as well. And most of this stuff hasn't really been seen yet because we really didn't get to see most of this stuff in the great beyond. Maybe this stuff happens afterwards, seeing deceased loved ones, a preview of future events, which didn't really get shown in this movie, a life review as well, which was shown kind of a bit as well in this as well, a sense of having alerted knowledge as well. So basically that's what happened to Joe. He is basically, he dies and he goes to this area, tunnel towards the light, and no one has made a theory about this besides me a long time ago, which was in I think last year, which is in YouTube terms a long time as well. If you watch the scene, which I'm not going to watch the scene because it will get copyrighted, most likely, you can really see that there's a tunnel and there's the light. Most souls have a sense of peace because their life is over. And then there's a lot of NDEs, well, people don't want to go because they haven't lived their full lives. They haven't lived their purpose. And if they ever make a sequel to Soul, I think they should go into more of the spiritual stuff, life reviews and all this other stuff that happen as well. You also have, what is that? Soul guides, soul guardians, those you know, people in the spiritual realm that basically as well. So basically, you have spirit guides, soul guardians, or angels, basically watching the count of the afterlife, making sure everything is correct as well. I wonder what would happen if a character had a near-death experience as well, and Terry and the other character basically said, "Nope, it isn't your time to die yet," and basically that would make a boring movie, but it would be pretty interesting if they made a spin-off series about Soul, and one of the ones is about a near-death experience, and Terry or another one of the Jerrys or another Soul Guardian or Soul, you know, being, extra dimensional being in the soul in the astral plane, an Aris or another spirit guide, basically saying, "Hey, your time isn't now," or your time isn't now. You can live as well. And also, it's also seen with them giving Joe another chance at life, further proving that this entire movie is about a near-death experience. It is about the whole thing and whole idea of near-death experiences. Of course, soul. Of course, there was no near-death experience that has a human mixes up their soul with a cat. Yeah, there's no near-death experience that really says that. But again, this is a cartoon movie. It's not supposed to be realistic as well. Well, but also nothing has ever been explained about, other than, oh, it's just a post-existence place of the great beyond. And maybe the great beyond is basically whatever you imagine it once you get to there. You basically do your spiritual jobs, basically looking after your loved ones, or just doing what you want in the area, gaining further spiritual knowledge as well. And maybe a lot of people have also said merging of the light. What if basically, you enter the light, and then some people actually merge with the light and become one with light. And maybe the great beyond is source, which is better than multiple NDEs. The great beyond is the source energy, the source of all life as well. And maybe the people who get to this area of the great beyond are people who are done with the spirit, with the incarnations. And also with reincarnation has never been expressly confirmed in Soul, other than there are new souls as well. But it's also in several NEEs and even spiritual experiences, they are confirmed to be soul nurseries, which has also been shown in this movie. And there's also another person who had a pre-birth memory who basically says, basically this entire movie is basically, very like my experience as well. And basically he's one of the most well-known people of having a pre-birth memory in all of existence as well. So what is the Great Beyond in Soul? We really will not know what the Great Beyond is until we get a sequel about it. Maybe exploring the Great Beyond a bit. And maybe the Great Beyond is not a gigantic fly, too scary gigantic fly zapper, but like the first movie portrays. And maybe it's just a gate, and maybe most likely, obviously, it's a gateway to the afterlife. Of course, the spirit world. And this entire area, before you get into the spirit world, obviously, is just the astral plane. The near-death experience, what you gain, and then the other experience. The ends. Of course, we can go over the near-death experience as well. Again, on the University of Virginia thing here. Well, basically, yeah, you have a comfortable, free of pain. Of course, as well. As I said, leaving the body and sometimes being able to see the physical body or fully above it. A mind focusing more clearly, more rapidly than usual. A brilliant light, sometimes at the end of the tunnel. As I said, being drawn to tunnel or darkness. A sense of overwhelming peace or being an absolute unkissable love. A sense of having access to unlimited knowledge. A overview of a recall of important events in the past as well. And encounters of loved ones, and some of them beings religious figures. Again, the last three haven't been shown in this as well. Say they were unlimited knowledge because Joe still acts like a human as well. But basically, as well. And that is the truth about the Great Beyond and Soul. It's not a giant fire type of where you just get hit and cease to exist. This movie is based off a very real phenomenon that millions of people have to go through every year worldwide. Right. Millions of people have NDEs and have known about the spiritual realm as well. And that's basically this video here. Goodbye.